interesting looking at the Democrats. The party's approval rating is at a record low, but Rolling Stone magazine published polling this week that found that voters see Democrats as more corrupt than Republicans. This is a Liberal poll, Impact Research, that also found that voters deemed it very important, 53% classifying it as a very big priority. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people are seeing the Democrats as more corrupt?
The Democratic brand is in the basement. It is total and complete garbage in the mind of the American public.
Here in Washington, D.C., that survey, if you mentioned it at an event or a pub, people would absolutely have their jaws on the floor because Washington doesn't realize this is how the country sees the Democratic Party. They think that Trump has been such a political gift with all of the baggage that comes with this guy being a businessman who's had deals in Russia and the Middle East and all of that. They don't realize that Trump has actually pretty successfully called voters' attention to what Democrats have been doing with less media coverage for years and years in the shadow of the press kind of muckraking on Democrats. And so I think it's actually very interesting, especially now after the myriad news cycles on Elon Musk and Doge, that this poll is still finding that this is a bigger problem for Democrats who really thought that they had a slam dunk with Musk and Doge in terms of overcoming Republicans on metrics exactly like these. So they have a lot of soul searching to do. And honestly, here in Washington, my view is that they are not doing it and they don't even understand what to do at this point.
My guess is they looked at some polling and thought there was a high risk that she wasn't going to win. I mean, I'm not so sure all the Democrats in California were so hot to trot about this. There's a huge amount of risk that she could have lost. I agree. I don't think it's going to be handed to her in 2028, but hope springs eternal. That you guys go back to the Kamala Harris well one more time. Hope springs eternal, Christine. Please bring us Kamala. Let's give it round two.
That a former Vice President Kamala Harris has confirmed that she's not going to be entering the 2026 California governor's race, ending months of speculation about a return to politics. But in her statement, she said she reflected deeply and decided not to seek elected office for now. The key words there. She wrote, "For now, my leadership and public service will not be in elected office. I look forward to getting back out and listening to the American people, helping elect Democrats across the nation who will fight fearlessly and sharing more details in the months ahead about my own plans." Now, Emily, this certainly opens the door for another run for president in 2028. How likely is it that we'll see that?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now this indicates how serious she is about that. And it's obviously a good decision for Kamala Harris to stay out of the limelight for as long as is humanly possible because she's such a toxic brand right now for Democrats. She's someone who just reminds them of the Biden cover-up, and average voters actually still really care about that. You hear Democrats in Congress like Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez talking about how her own constituents still talk about this and still care about the Biden cover-up, and Kamala Harris is a big walking reminder of that every single day. So it makes sense for her to stay out of any urgent, imminent race. But I think partially the other reason is that she can start rebuilding for a political future, talking to donors, seeing what her lane would potentially look like in 2028, instead of thrusting herself back into campaign life and governing decisions where you can't really sit back and let the pieces fall. You have to be an active part of putting them where you want them to be on the board. I think she recognizes that it will behoove her to come into that process later and not really be a leader in the Democratic Party's transition phase right now.
I also wonder how has she been spending her time, Eva? As you've been talking to sources, what has she been doing since her loss?
Right. She hasn't been all that visible. She's popped up here and there at different events. She addressed a group of Black Democratic women a few months ago. But she's largely been using this time to have these tough conversations about what her next steps will be.
Does that seem like the right place that Democrats should be, or should they be learning something differently? Because New York City is not Kentucky, but the, easily digestible policies is something that works anywhere.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, one of the main lessons to learn here is A, don't run candidates who suck and then be surprised that they lose. Don't run candidates who suck and then be surprised that they lose.
That Democrats are in a huge bit of trouble. Like this, it's just, there's no way to look at this without recognizing the massive scale of our problems. And you can kind of tell yourself that things might be kind of okay by looking at just the shift from 20 to 24. But if you really want to assess where we are as a party, you have to look at the shift from 2016 to 2024. and this is particularly true with Latino voters. Okay. In
2012. 2012 to
even with Latino voters, actually, is the one group where Hillary Clinton
did better,
did better than Obama.
Yeah.
She 2 points better. But so in 2016, Hillary Clinton won 70% of Latino vote. Kamala Harris won 54%. It's a 16-point drop. And then you would like to think that gender, that this is all about men. It's not all about men. Latinas moved 17 points in 8 years. Latino men went 14 points in 8 years. There is no path to Latinos are the fastest growing population in the country. They are particularly politically powerful because of how the population is distributed in electoral rich Sunbelt states like Texas, Florida, Arizona, Nevada, etc. And so they're becoming more of the electorate, and we are losing more of them at a very fast rate. Like, if that trend continues, there is no path to Democrats winning elections. And so we have to take that. Everyone was telling themselves stories about that maybe 2020 was an aberration because Trump made gains there because of COVID. Like, there's big talk about COVID. This is something bigger than that, and we have to address that.
Donald Trump won the presidential race by gaining ground with multiple Democratic groups. Hispanics, Asian Americans, Muslim and Arab Americans all shifted in his direction. New Jersey, where Mr. Trump did 10 points better in 2024 than he did in 2020, will elect a new governor next year. And that race could be an early test of the strength of Trump's coalition. Steve Kornacki joins me now from the big board to break this all down. So, Steve, what are you looking at in New Jersey?
Yeah, Kristen, you set it up well. We talked about this, obviously, in the aftermath of the election. Trump doing so much better with non-white voters, with non-traditional Republican voting blocs than we've seen from Republicans in the past. And what that meant was outside the battleground states, in big, diverse blue states, Trump made his biggest gains. You mentioned New Jersey and that 6-point margin. It had been 16 in 2020. That's what Trump had lost the state by. He got it a lot closer in 2024. Let me take you through them. They're pretty dramatic. Take a look here. We're looking at some of the cities and towns. This is Perth Amboy. Why are we looking at Perth Amboy? The highest concentration of Latino voters anywhere in New Jersey, 81%. And look at this. In 2016, Perth Amboy voted for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump by 64 points. That Democratic margin came down to 44 in 2020 and all the way down to single digits this time. That's a shift over 8 years of 55 points in Trump's direction in the most heavily Latino city in New Jersey. Palisades Park. This is 48% Korean American, the highest concentration of Korean Americans anywhere in the country, any city in the country. 48%, basically half. And again, look at this. Hillary Clinton won here by 32 points over Trump 8 years ago, down to 22. And this time, Harris beat Trump here by only 5 points, a 27-point shift in this heavily Korean American community toward Donald Trump. And then take a look here. This is Island. Now, what's significant here is Indian American population. Little India is the section of this town. It's called Little India. It's about 50%, about half Indian American. And again, Hillary Clinton easily won here over Donald Trump 8 years ago. Biden carried it by 26. And look at that. That Democratic advantage virtually eliminated this election. 1/10 of 1 point. That was Harris's margin over Trump. So, again, these are some of the sort of micro examples of what happened across New Jersey to make the state so much closer this time around. It was the second biggest improvement Trump posted in any state in 2024. It was in New Jersey. This is what powered it.
A poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. The votes are in. They don't want your pity.
If that trend continues, there is no path to Democrats winning elections.